right now, from the oracle of the Holy Spirit, Jonathan should quietly resign honorably. And let Nigeria be. The destiny of Nigeria is greater than Goodluck Jonathan. The good luck in the Jonathan has become a bad luck to Nigerians. Whatever brought him in should send him back. And let Nigeria be.
Sometimes I tend to ask myself a very important question: if Nigerians are really real people. Like the kind of hatred they had towards Goodluck Jonathan, it was not just limited to the north or the southwest. It cut across every part of the country. I don't know if it was all because of propaganda, because the APC then used a lot of propaganda against Goodluck Jonathan. Every form of insecurity was reported, overtly reported, even the one that did not happen. It was blown out of proportion. The Chibok Girls story, you saw how it gained international traction. Everything about Goodluck Jonathan was blown out of proportion. But when you look at the statistics, it shows you that Goodluck Jonathan was the best president for Nigeria. Even though he had a lot of issues, some issues there, but he was doing everything possible to put the country on the right path. At the point where Goodluck Jonathan was the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there were a lot of foreign direct investment that was coming into the country. Most people were living abroad, especially the people from the UK. They were coming into Nigeria to invest. And at that point, Nigeria was really the third fastest growing economy in the world, alongside India, Dubai, and China. And Nigeria's economy was the strongest in Africa. You don't achieve that by propaganda. You don't achieve that by propaganda. It shows that there were lots of works in place. But I then do not understand the reason why Goodluck Jonathan was so much hated. Look at Father Mbaka. He's a priest. On the altar, he was openly campaigning against Goodluck Jonathan. Whatever happened during Goodluck Jonathan, of course, every one of you know that life was fair. Life was better under Goodluck Jonathan, even though we had our issues. You all knew that even the insecurity under Goodluck Jonathan was politically created. It was created to destabilize Goodluck Jonathan's presidency. When Goodluck Jonathan won the 2011 presidential election, President Muhammadu Buhari openly said that baboons would be soaked in blood. And you saw how persons were killed. People were killed after Goodluck Jonathan won that election. So whatever that happened on that period was politically motivated. And my question is, was it that these people that were against Goodluck Jonathan, they did not know that all these things were an attempt to capture Nigeria? These political gladiators used all manner of propaganda to fight Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Look at the first subsidy, for instance. It needed to go. Even when Goodluck Jonathan removed the first subsidy, he put in place things that will help to alleviate the pains of the people. You heard about the Shopee. But people went to the street and they protested against it. You've heard the former governor of Ekiti State, Kayode Fayemi, coming out to say that the new subsidy needed to go. But because they were desperate for power, they protested against Goodluck Jonathan. And you saw intellectuals joining that protest against Goodluck Jonathan. Is it that these people did not think that the people they were protesting with was fighting the presidency of Goodluck Jonathan? They were trying to sabotage the economy so that they would take over power. Even if every other person was being misled, what about Reverend Father Mbaka? Reverend Father Ejike Mbaka. He called himself a Reverend Father. With that, you expect some level of spirituality. He shouldn't move with his five senses. He shouldn't be controlled by what is happening in the physical. He should be controlled by what is happening in the spiritual. He should be able to get some knowledge from the spiritual realm to discern what is happening. He told Nigerians that Goodluck Jonathan should go, that God has told him that Goodluck Jonathan will go, and that the person that will come, President Muhammadu Buhari, will be the one to fix Nigeria. Mbaka said that President Muhammadu Buhari will fight corruption. Mbaka said that President Muhammadu Buhari will fight insecurity. That this is what God told him. And that was why he was openly fighting against Goodluck Jonathan, preaching against him on the altar. Was Mbaka listening to God? Was Mbaka hearing from God? Okay, let's believe that Mbaka heard from God and Goodluck Jonathan lost the election. President Muhammadu Buhari now became the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. What about the part that President Muhammadu Buhari will fix Nigeria? What about the part that President Muhammadu Buhari will fight corruption? What about the part that President Muhammadu Buhari will fight insecurity? Did President Muhammadu Buhari did any of those things? Absolutely no. he turned the country upside down. He is the worst leader this country has ever experienced. A colossal failure. This man took over the third fastest growing economy in the world, not in Africa, in the world, alongside China, India and Dubai, and ran it aground. This man destroyed our GDP. Corruption under President Muhammadu Buhari was so severe. Insecurity was the worst under his government. Where did Father Mbaka get his message from that he was preaching on the altar? I am forced to believe that most of these religious leaders in this country, they don't want a working economy. They don't want a working Nigeria. And that is a fact. A working Nigeria will see most of them out of business. You know why? Because they need you to be in poverty to come and sow seeds. They need you to have sickness to come and sow seed. When you are sick, where will you go to? You go to the hospital. God has given knowledge to some persons to become medical doctors to treat you. And it is a responsibility of the government to build medical facilities, to build medical hospitals everywhere so that people can have access to good medical attention. But that is lacking in Nigeria. So when you are sick, rather than going to the hospital, you go to church for prayer. How many of you have gone for tests? How many of you have done a routine check? Even me that is speaking, I've not gone for a routine check. It's not common in our society, because going to the hospital to carry out a routine check on yourself is a Herculean task. You even see hospital around you. You have to patronize a private hospital. Government hospital is nowhere to be found. This is what the government should be doing, and this is what the religious leaders should be calling out the government for. But they will not do it because they want you to come to church and sow seed so that God can take away the sickness in your body. Rather than using that money to go to the hospital to be treated, you will now use the money to come to the church and sow seed so that God will take away the sickness in your body. Rather than holding the government accountable to create job opportunities for the youth, they will rather not do that because they want you to come to the church to sow seed so that you can get miracle jobs where there is no job at all. How many jobs do we have in this country that you're looking for a miracle job? Most things that is supporting the people currently now is what they created for themselves. There is no job anywhere. Most of you that have traveled out of the shore of this country, you find it difficult to even go to church. You pray to God in your house. You still love God. But most of the things you do in Nigeria as religious activities, you don't do them outside the shore of this country. You are focused on working. You are focused on making money. When you're sick, you go to the hospital. When you need job, you go out there and look for a job. You don't go to church to look for it. But when you're in this country, you do all of those things because those things are nowhere to be found. You go to church because you love God. You go to church to appreciate Him for life. You go to church to commune with the brethren, not to go to church to demand and put burden on God to give you jobs, to heal you. These are the things that God has empowered your government to do for you. Most of the sicknesses that people are asking God to heal them for is something that one injection in the hospital can cure. Of course, I know that there are terminal cases that people seek the help of God. I am not disputing that fact. But the pressure that we put on God in this country is born out of the fact that our government have neglected their basic responsibilities to the people. And most of these religious leaders, they are in support of this, they are in support of how the country is, because it is favoring them. If this country is working very well, I can tell you for a truth that most of them will not be in business. They are there not because God called them. They are there because of the monetary value they get from the people. Why do you think churches and religious organizations prosper very well in Nigeria? It is because of poverty. It is because of hardship. Religion is the opium of the masses, because I don't understand why someone who claims to have spiritual understanding we campaign against Goodluck Jonathan. We support President Muhammadu Buhari ahead of Goodluck Jonathan. It's a disaster. Even me, in my level of understanding then, in my naive state then, as a young lad, I did not support President Muhammadu Buhari. I knew his regime was going to be a disaster. I knew it because I've read from history what he did as a head of state. But someone that claimed to have a high spiritual ceiling did not understand that. Thank you for watching. I'm going to see you in the next video.